I feel like recently there has been a massive influx of rom-coms finally coming back to us. Rom-coms are some of my favorite films to watch. Sometimes you just need a fun little rom-com, and within this influx of rom-coms, it got me thinking. My favorite film of all time is 13 Going on 30. Not to be over dramatic and not to be, whatever. I feel like 13 Going on 30 invented rom-coms. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. 13 Going on 30, since I was a little girl, has been my ultimate favorite film. And I think the way the film is structured and the overall message of the story adds to the overall rom-com impact that it has. I think the casting in the film is amazing. I think the story, but not only the story about love, but also 13 Going on 30 means a lot to me in terms of growing up as a woman, and I'm entering my 20s. I'm 21 this year, and I'm already kind of going through that phase of growing up as a woman in my 20s and kind of not really knowing a lot about what I want to do, and still making mistakes in my life, which I think is perfectly fine. And this message kind of reiterates the fact that, kind of like Barbie did, we are just girls. So I thought we would just talk through 13 Going on 30, because I think to this day it is still one of the best rom-coms that I've had the pleasure to watch. But I also just enjoy the aesthetics of the film, and kind of any films that were and TV shows that were made 2000s time, I am such a sucker for. I love them. 13 Going on 13 came out in 2004, and I was 1 year old, so I obviously didn't watch it as soon as it came out. But it was a movie that I first watched with my dad when I was a little girl, and I really held on to it. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna show you the mental state of me right now. I watch 13 Going on 30 at least once or twice a week because it's such a comfort film for me. I just love everything about it. So I've really grown up with this film, and it's interesting because now that I'm older, I'm watching it through a much more different light, because it's also just about growing up as a girl and being allowed to make mistakes, but also learning from them. And I really value that. But when we talk about rom-coms, I think 13 Going on 30 did the rom-com thing so well. So we're going to talk through it because I love it. Also, guys, I try to do Jenna Rink Big Time magazine editor with my hairband. I feel like it's giving that. So the film opens up with 13-year-old Jenna Rink. I'm just going to say, before I carry on, the soundtrack for this film is so good. I feel like it aged so well. Honest to God, I love it. Anyway, it opens up with Jenna Rink, and she's 13 years old at this time, and she's taking a yearbook photo or an annual school photo. I don't know how they do it in America, but in England, you have a school photo for every single year that you progress. Straight off the bat, she's portrayed very unpopular, a bit of a dork, the convenient unpopular girl. Do you know what I mean? It's reiterated when the photographer refers to her as Gina, and Jenna is it's Jenna, but the photographer still is Gina, it's Jenna. And then the photo ends up taking, and it's not the most glorious photo of all time. And I'm gonna say the intro, these title cards are so cutty. They knew their audience. They knew the girls were watching. Do you know what I mean? The pink, purple, and blue. Oh, we were there. So then we meet Matt Flanhuff. Matt is her best friend. He is an aspiring photographer. He kind of announces, I guess, to the audience it's Jenna's 13th birthday and they should document the day. So he's trying to take pictures, and Jenna's oh, Melly, please stop it. And straight off the bat, I love them. We then see a group of popular girls known as the Six Chicks approach them. Side note, Brie Larson and Ashley Benson are actually two of these Six Chicks. And when I say this is my multiverse of madness. So obviously I watched this as a kid, but I didn't really watch like Pretty Little Liars or know who Brie Larson was before I was maybe like 13. So like 13-year-old me finding this out. Exactly. So the leader of the 6 chicks is called Tom Tom. So Tom Tom's like, hi Jenna, how did your photo turn out? Jenna is like, oh, not so great. And then Tom Tom's like, yeah, mine either. And then Brie Larson pipes up and she's like, nuh-uh. Tom Tom, like yours is great. And she shows us her picture. Bit of a slay, actually. I do have to agree. Like she could have did that. Anyway, but then Tom Tom is like, so I know you invited us to your party, but we have a project due and I don't think we can do it because this teacher's really on our backs. And Janet is like, why don't I do this homework for you and then you can come to the party? Tom Tom's like, fabuloso. Can I just say, Tom Tom, she's not a great person, but fabuloso, I don't know. She kind of knew what she was giving there. Do you know what I mean? The amount of times fabuloso is indented into my vocabulary. And like one thing with 13 Going on 30, it's a really weird film to me in terms of like, I feel like people know the film, but they don't like quote the film. Like the only like quote that's kind of like said about the film is like Jenna Rink, big time magazine editor. But like fabuloso, sorry, but like her and Sharpay are going at it for fabuloso. I do quote fabuloso on a daily basis and no one really gets it, but I do, and that's the most important. I get it, I really do. Jenna really wants to be popular. Like that is her like aim. And like no offense, I had a girl like this I was friends with at school, and oh my god, it's so draining, girl. It is so draining because none of this popularity stuff means anything once you leave school, I promise you. So she really wants to be a 6 chick. So her and Matt are like on their way home. Matt kind of eats them up here because Matt is like, I can't believe you invited those clones. Get them again for me, do it. Jenna's like, I want to be a 6 chick, Maddie. And then Matt's like, sorry, there's 6 of them. You can't be a 7th 6 chick. It's mathematically impossible. And then Matt is like, you're so much better than them because you're original. And then they open a packet of Razzles. I don't know what these are. I think it's an American thing because I've never had them in my life. It's a candy and a gum, apparently. They open them, they share a packet of them, and then they walk into their own separate houses, which are next door to each other. But also they have a really cute like goodbye where like one of them says arrivederci and the other one says au revoir, and like that's like how they say goodbye. Like that's like, I think it's cute, their own little thing. I feel like this scene is very girlhood in terms of like aesthetics and kind of like thinking back to when you were a teenager. But we see Jenna getting ready for her party that she's putting on. She's wearing a scrunchie, this really nice skirt. She's dancing to Jesse's Girl, which is all blaring through the TV. And it's very, I don't know, I love the aesthetics of this scene. I think it's really nice to kind of like, oh, I did that. You know? But her mum and dad come in and they're recording on like their camcorder thing for her birthday. But Jenna gets quite overwhelmed and she tells them to leave, but her mum ends up staying. Jenna kind of refers to herself as looking and feeling quite fatal and putting on this kind of fake personality and fake body that she's not in order to fit in. But then her mum reassures her like, you're just like my teenage girl. Like it's fine. I promise you. And then Jenna opens a magazine, Poise magazine. And one of the titles of the pages is this is a tongue twister. 30, Flirty and Thriving, where the 30s are the best years of your life. And she's like, I want to be 30. And her mum kind of gags and she's like laughing. She's like, you will be. But right now, like, you're my 13-year-old. Like, and then her mum reassures her, like, just because you don't look like these models in these magazines don't mean that, like, you're ugly. Like, it's all not really like real, you know, and there's a lot that goes behind modeling and stuff like that. So then Thriller by Michael Jackson starts playing, and Jenna is kind of doing the dance. She's in her basement right now where the party's gonna be, and she's dancing along to it, and Matt is coming down the stairs and he's carrying a present for her, and he kind of watches on in the distance as she's dancing, and he's like smiling to himself. It's so cute. He interrupts Jenna. He's like, sorry, but like I have a gift for you. And the gift is the cutest thing in the world. The gift that he gives her is a Jenna dream house, because she always wanted a Barbie dream house. It's essentially Jenna's own dream house that he made for her. It has like aspects of things that she likes within the dollhouse, which is so cute. And then he does this thing. He has like wishing dust, and he pours it over the roof of the dollhouse, and he reads out the saying. Says on the packet, this wishing dust knows what's in your heart of hearts. It will make all your dreams come true. So then the doorbell rings. All of the 6 chicks arrive to the party. The next scene, if I had to describe a 2000s teen film to you, like this would be the scene. We see Chris Grandy, who is Jenna's like crush, get out of the car with his like long blonde hair, slow motion, music playing. Like this is such a 2000s scene. The crush arrives and the party gets underway. Matt is dancing as the party goes away to Burning Down the House, and like everyone's like looking upon him in disgust, and like no offense, but like these people just don't like having fun. Like, you're at a party, someone's dancing, and you're like, why are you dancing? What happened to having fun? No one can have fun these days. You know what I mean? Matt ends up leaving to go and get his Casio, because he made Jenna a song for her birthday. So cute. And then Tom suggests that they play 7 Minutes in Heaven. So she blindfolds Jenna and she puts Jenna in a closet, and she tells Jenna that Chris Grandy is going to go in the closet first. So Jenna's like excited. She's like, oh, this is my time. However, Tom asks her where their project is that Jenna was going to do for them. They end up taking the homework assignment, and they leave the party. And then Matt is like coming down the stairs, and Tom is like, Jenna's waiting for you in the closet. Matt obviously goes in the closet, and he holds hands with Jenna, and he kind of leans in close like they're gonna kiss. But Jenna is like, oh, Chris, blushing, twirling her hair, kicking her feet. But then Matt is like, hold on, because I'm Matt, so like what's going on here? And then Jenna gets really embarrassed. She's like, Matt, what are you doing here? What happened to everyone? Where did they go? And then Jenna kind of accuses Matt of like making everybody leave. And then Jenna just gets really upset, and she goes back into the closet, and she's kind of rocking back and forth, but she's like hitting her head on like the back of the closet. And earlier, before the party started, Jenna put the dream house in the closet to make space for the party. The dollhouse is directly above Jenna. Jenna bangs her head, and the wishing dust that Matt put on the dollhouse comes kind of like raining down, and then boom, we're transported away. Then we're met with a scene where someone is sleeping in bed, and she ends up waking up because she falls out of the bed. And then we see her leave her room, and she's in an apartment that we're not familiar with, and she's calling out for her mum and dad. She's like, oh, what is going on? That is not.
Oh, that's not. In the sense that
she's walking around the apartment, and suddenly she sees herself in the mirror, and she's now a grown-up woman. And Jenna Rink at this point is played by Jennifer Garner, and she's kind of shook. She's kind of like, oh, who is that in the mirror? So then she's like, oh, maybe this is a dream. Shake it off, as Taylor Swift once said. She goes into her living room, and she finds post mail, and they all say Jenna Rink. So now she's like, oh, now hold on, this is not. At the same time, there's a man walking through the house. They don't see each other yet. They kind of avoid each other. But then Jenna hears a mobile phone ringing. And obviously as a kid, mobile phones weren't a thing when Jenna was a kid, so she doesn't know what a mobile phone is. And this is where I really like the attention to detail. There's so many times in this film where Jenna doesn't know what things are, because as a child, those didn't exist. And she now lives, 17 years in the future. Things have obviously progressed, but she doesn't know that. So she hears a ringtone, and she's like, what is that? And then she hears the stranger or the man get into the shower and turn the shower on. So she's calling out. She's like, who is it? Isn't it an intruder? And she uses an umbrella as a weapon to protect herself. The man comes out and he's naked and she gets quite scared. So she grabs her coat and her bag and she just leaves the house. Bearing in mind, she's in her like pajamas at this stage, but she leaves the house and the phone continues to ring once she's outside, and she asks the public, like, can you hear that? Like, what is that? Like, tell me what it is, because she doesn't know what it is. Then in the distance, we hear another character talking, and she says, Jenna, can you please get in the car? We're going to be late. Jenna, get in the car. Jenna, this is another detailed thing that I really like about this. Jenna is like, I can't get in the car with strangers, because obviously she was a child and that's something you learn as a child. She doesn't know who this character is. This character is like, Jenna, get in the car. Come on, we're gonna be late. Get in the car. Jenna sees the guy from her apartment like hanging out of the window, being like, come back up, like, what's wrong? So Jenna gets in the car anyway. The character that she gets into the car with is called Lucy, and she now works with Jenna. Jenna kind of tells her like what's going on, like this is like a whole thing, like, and then they get to their workplace, they get out of the car. And by the way, I don't know if this is like a New York because it's set in New York. The drive from her apartment to the workplace is like less than 30 seconds. Like, you can walk. But nonetheless, Jenna tries to explain the situation and she's like, I'm 13, like I'm not 30. And then Lucy is like, if you're gonna lie about your age, like at least make it believable, whatever. Jenna finally asks her about like the ringtone, like what's going on, can you hear that? And then Lucy pulls out of her phone and she's like, it's probably Richard. And Jenna is like, who's Richard? And then Lucy is like, your boss. So then she kind of snaps Jenna out of it and she's like, Jenna, you need to get your together, girl. And another attention to detail I like, Lucy calls her a tough bitch. And Jenna hesitates to repeat that back to her because obviously as a kid, she's not allowed to swear. I find that really, really just funny. Lucy tells her, you're Jenna Rink, big time magazine editor at Poise Magazine. And Jenna is like, flabbergasted. She's like, I am? Yeah, absolutely. Big time magazine editor. You know it. So then they walk into the office and they're met with Richard, who is their editor-in-chief, so I guess their boss. They have a bit of a meeting. I think this is Jenna's personal assistant, but she's called Arlene. Jenna asks her to look for Matt. She wants to find Matt to find what had happened because she's really confused. So she's like, please find Matt for me. They end up having a meeting anyway in the workplace, and Poise Magazine have a rival magazine called Sparkle. Richard believes that there's a rat in the workplace and that someone is leaking all of their ideas to Sparkle because Sparkle are always kind of one-upping them. And keep this on hand for later because this does come back. There's a little scene here which kind of goes unnoticed, but I think this refers to Jenna's character that we haven't seen her since she was 13. Lucy says that Jenna fired Charlotte, who was a secretary, because Richard was like, oh yeah, she was always writing things down, it's probably her. But then Lucy's like, she's a secretary. And I will come back to this because there's a reason why I'm mentioning this. But anyway, Jenna goes back to her individual office. There's a bit of a slay moment here because on the wall there's like a signed image from Madonna which says like, margaritas anytime, lots of love, Madonna. And Jenna's like, I'm friends with Madonna? Like, what? Arlene knocks on the door. Once again, this kind of has an input to Jenna's character that we haven't seen because obviously we've missed the time of her growing up. Arlene is like, I found Matt, but I also, your mum called earlier. And Jenna is like, my mum called? Like, why didn't you tell me? Arlene is like, you told me not to tell you when your parents called you. So during this time jump where she's grown up, Jenna's actually not been a nice person. And I think she let the popularity of her 13-year-old life, which we'll see later on, kind of overtake her. She doesn't really talk to her parents anymore. She fell out with Matt, and we learn through little bits here and there that she's actually quite a bad person, but she tries to change that once it's actually herself living the life, if that makes sense. Arlene says that she told Matt's parents that he's in a bit of trouble, and then Jenna's like, oh, you lied to his parents. And Arlene's like, please don't fire me, Please. Jenna goes to see Matt and she's ringing on like his apartment buzzer, but there's a bit of like they can't really hear through the speaker. Jenna gets buzzed up and I guess they're ordering Chinese food because when Matt answers the door, he's like, you're not Chinese, so like what's going on? And then Jenna kind of spurts out a load of nonsense, but Matt ends up clocking that this is Jenna. He invites Jenna inside and Jenna tries to explain the situation, like she was 13 and now she's not, and Matt is like, girl, we aren't friends anymore. Like, you can't just show up here. She's kind of begging him, like, I need you to help me remember my life. Like, I don't know my life. I don't know what happened. But Matt just keeps saying, like, we haven't spoken since high school. Like, I don't know you and the life that you've lived. Jenna ends up having a panic attack because she's like, like everything is so overwhelming to her. Matt helps to calm her down and grabs her a pillow and water and is like, I'll walk you back to your apartment if you'd like, but like I can't help you. Like we aren't and haven't been friends since the night of her 13th birthday party. He said that he might have seen her through a frosted window like 6 years ago, but like that was it and he needs to go. And once they reach her apartment, he's like, okay, good luck with your life. Bye. Now, the reason why they aren't friends, we will be getting to, don't worry, but like that's not until a bit later on in the story. Matt actually ends up going inside of her apartment and they look at like yearbook photos. Jenna sees Tom Tom and she's like, oh, Tom Tom, I wonder what happened to Tom Tom. But then Matt says that the last he heard, they're really good friends and still working together. So then we find out Lucy from earlier is Tom Tom. Jenna says that she just looks unrecognizable and that's why she didn't recognize her. But then Matt is like, yeah, I think she's into the whole like plastic surgery movement and stuff like that. And then Jenna finds out that she went to prom and she was prom queen and she went prom with Chris Grandy, who was her like crush. And Jenna's like, wow, like I really got everything I ever wanted. And Matt's like, yeah, congratulations. Congrats. Jenna then gets a phone call and on the other end of the phone it's someone who's like, hi, like we're confirming like your limousine pickup today, like what time and stuff like that. And Jenna finds out that she's taking a limousine to a Poise magazine party and she gets really excited about it and she asks Matt, like, you know, you can come if you want to, and gives him the address so that he can come if he wants. But then Matt is like, okay, I should probably go. I'm gonna go home. But I love when they say goodbye to each other in this scene. They do their goodbye that they had when they were children. And I'm just like, guys, when I say that these are my parents. So then, girlhood scene. I'm obsessed with this scene. Like, I love it. I Want to Dance with Somebody starts playing and Jenna's doing her makeup for the party. She's getting dressed for the party. She walks into her closet and she sees like how big it is and like all her shoe collection. I love this scene so much. I don't know why, but yeah, she's getting ready for her party. And then she gets into an elevator and there's a teenage girl in there. Jenna's like, I'm Jenna, by the way. And the girl is like, I'm Becky. Jenna's like, how old are you? And Becky's like, I'm 13. And Jenna's like, me too. I used to be. Becky is like, why are you even talking to me anyway? And Jenna's like, we're literally neighbors. But then Becky's like, you just always normally ignore me. I remember the person that Jenna is at this current time is not kind in terms of like the life that she's lived in the time jump. Anyway, they end up bonding in the elevator. They kind of become friends and then Jenna sets off to her party. Jenna arrives at the party and I really like her. She eats like, I think it's like shrimp or something, or crab maybe, and then she throws it behind her and it lands in someone's drink. And I only point this out because this happens like twice with the same guy. I think it's really funny. She goes up to Lucy and she's like, hi Tom Tom. Lucy's like, oh, people haven't called me that in ages. And then Lucy's like, since I got my nose job. And Jenna's like, you got a nose job? Richard comes over and he shows off the outfits that each of the girls are wearing. I really, really love Richard. Richard is played by Andy, I forgot his last name. Let me Google this. Andy Serkis, that's it. I really, really like Richard. It's really funny. Jenna orders a drink and she's like, can I have a pina colada, alcoholic? Do you want to see my ID? I totally have it. And that's so funny because like that's literally me. As soon as I turned 18 and I got my ID, I was like, everybody look, everybody. Then it's really funny when it gets to 11 p.m. and Jenna approaches Lucy And she's like, it's 11 p.m. on a school night and I'm at a party. How cool is this? And Lucy's like, it's 11 p.m. and people are leaving. And Richard comes over to them and he's like, am I the issue? Like, what is going on? Like, people are leaving. Like, this is really bad for the company. But also, wait, sorry. Scene before this, Lucy and Jenna meet someone who works at Sparkle called Trish Sackett. And they have a bit of a argument because Trish is like, you guys are so bad compared to us. And I really like, Jenna kind of gets her, but the like offending thing that she said to Trish, she was like, I don't like you. You're rude, you're mean, you're sloppy and frizzy. Like, okay, Jenna like got her, but like, what does this mean? Then the party kind of kicks up a notch. Jenna is like, the reason people are leaving, like, you're playing this boring music. People don't want to dance to this music. So she goes up to the DJ and she whispers to him, and then Thriller by Michael Jackson starts playing and Jenna starts doing the dance. Jenna sees Matt. Matt arrives at the party and the spotlight kind of goes on him. Jenna's like, Matt, join it. Maddie, come on, join in. And then Matt's like, not doing it. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, Matt is played by Mark Ruffalo at this point. But you know that. Anyway, but Matt's like, no, I'm not joining in. I'm not doing it. Matt ends up joining in. Slowly by slowly, all of the guests start kind of joining in and it becomes a whole thing. And like, people are really happy and like dancing. Richard is like, you're a genius. And then Matt ends up leaving. He's like, I'm so sorry, girl. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. Yeah, that's the party scene. Then there's a really weird scene. This scene did make me uncomfortable at a bar. So Lucy and Jenna are at a bar and Lucy is like, oh, by the way, the guy behind you is totally hitting on you. And Jenna at this point obviously still believes that she's 13, like mentally she's 13, so she thinks Lucy's referring to a teenage boy that sat behind them, but Lucy's actually referring to a man behind them. So Jenna goes up to the boy and like is like, do you want to go on a date sometime? And Lucy pulls her away and she's like, do you want to be arrested? Like, what's going on? So they leave the bar. Jenna sees the guy from when she first woke up, being 30, from across the street, and he calls her beautiful. And Jenna's like, oh, he thinks I'm beautiful? And Lucy's like, yeah, he's your boyfriend, like he should. And Jenna's like, oh, interesting. Matt comes along. He introduces Jenna to Wendy, who is his fiance, and Jenna's flabbergasted at this point. She's like, fiance? That is not.
Oh, that's not. In the sense that
the boyfriend takes Jenna back to the boyfriend's called Alex, I believe, but he takes her back to his place. He obviously wants something else, but Jenna's like, oh, let's play board games, you know, because mentally she's literally 13, but he kind of strips for her and she's not having it and she pushes away and she's very uncomfortable. We see her the next day talking to Becky about the whole night and how uncomfortable it was, and Jenna mentions to Becky that love is a battlefield and you truly have to fight for the one that you really love. Anyway, Jenna enters the office and they're having another work meeting, and Richard, he says he's going to drop the R word, which means redesign, because they have to totally transform their magazine because Sparkle is so on them that they're just not selling any of their magazine anymore. Well, they're selling some, but like not the amount that they should. The numbers are low. Everyone's like, redesign, we can't redesign, like this is not. But then Jenna's like, no, like we should take this opportunity and redesign and have a just change the magazine up. So she kind of gets everyone on board. Then we see Arlene giving Jenna messages that have been left for her, and they're quite mean messages, which I think encourages the fact that Jenna's person in the time jump was not great. They're very, very harsh messages. So one of the workers' husbands come in to Jenna's office. I think it's Arlene's husband, and tries to kiss Jenna. And Jenna's like, what is going on? Like, no. But then the guy is like, yeah, but we did it last week, so who cares? But Jenna is like, absolutely not. So she kicks him where the sun don't shine, and she leaves. Jenna then hears Lucy and another co-worker talking about the redesign project and that they've hired one of the best photographers to do their own redesign thing. They say that Jenna's been really weird since she's just recently. Lucy says that she's so sick of Jenna that they're going to work on this redesign thing separately so that she can get Jenna kind of kicked out. So Jenna doesn't work there anymore because she's sick of Jenna. So Jenna's like, right, I see how it is. I'm going to do my own redesign projects then. Jenna then goes to Matt and they go on a walk and they talk about kind of Matt's future wedding and his life. And Jenna asks if Wendy is his soulmate, and he says that he doesn't believe in soulmates and he's not believed in soulmates since high school. Hint, hint. Who was the soulmate in high school? Jenna asks Matt, she's like, can you please tell me what happened between us? And Matt's quite hesitant because I think now that they've kind of found each other again and they're like kind of getting on, I think Matt doesn't want to hurt Jenna's feelings and remind her of what happened. But he's hesitant, but he eventually says that when Jenna kicked him out of the closet, he wanted to play a song for her on his Casio that he made for her birthday, but she came out and she threw the dollhouse at him with excessive force that he had made for her, and then they just never spoke since then. And Jenna apologizes and is like, look, I'm not the same person I was back then, like I'm a totally different person, like I'm really sorry. But then she just runs away. Okay, girls, now we have this is a scene for the first daughters in the family, right? You know what I'm talking about. The depressed older daughters, right? If you like You're on Your Own Kid by Taylor Swift, this scene applies to you. I'm really sorry. Vienna by Billy Joel starts playing. I love this song. It truly is for the older daughters in the household. Starts playing and Jenna is on the train and we see a bunch of teenage girls get on the train and she's kind of looking at them and like, not in a creepy way, but in like a reminiscing way. And then Jenna ends up going back to her childhood home. She goes to her old bedroom and she sees it's now like a storage place. She goes down to the basement and it's totally changed, and she opens up the closet and she sits in the closet and she bangs her head against the wall, kind of hoping the same thing would happen and she would wake up again and she would be 13. But her parents end up coming home. She embraces them when she sees them and then she goes to sleep, but there's a thunderstorm outside, so she goes to sleep in her parents' bed and she wakes up the next morning and her mum's cooking her breakfast and she kind of has a talk with her mum. I quite like this scene, and I think now I'm older, guys, I'm only 20, I'm acting like I'm 70, but now I'm older and I have a different relationship to my mum that I did when I was a teenager. I really like this scene. I think it resonates with me a lot more now than it did when I was a teenager. She asks her mum, like, you know, if you could go back and redo one thing in your life, like, what would you change? Like, the mistakes you've made, what would you change? But her mum is honest and is like, you know what? The mistakes make you who you are. And if she hadn't have made those mistakes, she wouldn't know how to fix it. I really like her mum. Her parents are really, really good people. I really, really like them. But I think this scene really resonates with me because I think it's okay to make mistakes growing up, and it just makes you human. And yeah. Then we see Jenna go through her yearbook photos, but the camera focuses mainly on the fact that Matt was the photographer in these photos. So then we have an absolute serve of a scene, everybody. Jenna gets into an elevator where Lucy is also there. Lucy is like, I tried to contact you, but like you weren't answering. Jenna's like, I didn't get any messages. And Lucy's like, well, I didn't leave any, like I was too busy. Lucy is then like, I hope you don't mind, but I'm kind of doing this whole redesign thing by myself and not with you. And Jenna's like, oh, don't worry, because I'm doing the same thing. Get her again for me, Jenna. Get her again for me. Jenna goes to meet Matt and she tells him like, look, I'm hiring you / Poise is hiring you for the weekend because she's going to get Matt on board for her redesign project. And her redesign project is much more focused on the community. I'll delve into it a bit more later on, but I really, really like it. The concept of it kind of makes me tear up when I hear her talking about it. So I really like him. Matt is like, you know, I've seen your magazine and like my stuff is not like your stuff. And Jenna's like, exactly, you're gonna get it. So then there's a whole montage of them doing this redesign project and taking photos of the community. I really like, it's really cute in this montage, like they slow dance occasionally and then Matt gives her flowers occasionally. It's really cute. I really, really like it. So later on, they're both kind of looking at the photos and like evaluating them. Jenna's like, you know what? Should we go and get some razzles? And Matt's like, razzles? I've not heard that in a long time. Let's do it. So they go and get some razzles, which is what they shared when they were kids, which a candy and a gum. And then Jenna kind of sticks her tongue out and she's like, is my tongue razzle red or red red? And Matt's like, what? And he's like, oh, it's razzle red. And then she asked Matt, like, Matt, stick your tongue out. Like, show me the color of your tongue because the candy changes the colour of the tongue. And Matt's like, "You're not doing it." But then he eventually does it. And then they go to some swings and they're swinging and they're having like a jumping competition. And Jenna's like, whoever loses has to pay for dinner Friday, 8 o'clock, when they get picked for the redesign stuff. They swing and they kind of fall on top of each other, and then they have a scene. Oh, guys. Then they have a really cute scene where they end up kissing each other. Guys, this is so rom-com. I'm gonna cry. Jenna then is having a sleepover with Becky and Becky's friends, because I guess mentally she's still 13. It's a bit weird, but she's whatever. And she's like telling them about it, and then how she got goosebumps and whatever. And then I know I've said girlhood many times during this video, but we have a proper girlhood moment, because Jenna and the girls are singing Love is a Battlefield and just dancing around and having a really good time at the sleepover. I love it. I love having fun. I'm sorry, I love watching movies and having fun. Shoot the messenger. So many movies nowadays are just so depressing. I'm like, girl, let me have some fun. Matt is writing in his calendar that he has dinner Friday with Jenna, but then someone surprises him from behind and he thinks it's Jenna, but it's actually Wendy. And Wendy's like, were you expecting someone else? Like, what? They go out to dinner. Wendy's like, we should talk about the living situation, because Wendy's getting a new job in Chicago, I'm pretty sure, and they need to decide if Matt's going to move to Chicago or not, or whether they're going to commute, because they don't really want to commute and be that type of couple. Lucy presents her project, her redesign project, and it's giving very much goth vibes. It's quite dark and quite scary, like the way she's presenting it. A lot of the people in the room don't vibe with it really, so Lucy ends up not getting picked to do the redesign thing, and she's fuming. She's mega fuming. She goes through the office and she's like trashing like the office and throwing things. Like her head is on Mars. She is not with us. She enters Jenna's office. At the same time, we are shown Jenna presenting her project. And Jenna's project is all about the community, because similar to when she was talking with her mum when she was 13 about the models in Poise magazine, these are beautiful women, but she doesn't see similarities in them in terms of she wants to see the community. She wants to see the girls from the local football team. She wants to see cheerleaders. She wants to see proms of girls who are much more similar, and not plastering girls with Photoshop and kind of creating these really unrealistic expectations that young girls keep themselves to. And I want to read this word for word, because I get quite teary when I look at this scene, because I think it means a lot because of experiences that I've had growing up. She says she wants to see real people. She wants to see her neighbor, the local girls from the football team. She wants to see real women who are pretty, smart, and happy to be who they are. These are the women to look up to and to put life back into the magazine. I love it. And so did everyone else, because Jenna gets picked for the redesign project. So Matt enters Jenna's office, but Lucy's in there, and Lucy lies to Matt and says that Jenna decided to go down a different route and she's not going to use Matt's photos, and kind of gets him out of the way. And she forces him to sign a release form so they can use the pictures elsewhere. Richard the next day tells Jenna that the redesign meeting is cancelled because Lucy has taken all of Matt's photos to Sparkle magazine. So she goes to confront Lucy and she's like, what are you doing? And Lucy found Sparkle magazine things in Jenna's office. So Jenna had been the rat that had been sending Sparkle these ideas to become their editor-in-chief, obviously before we're met with the third, like during the time jump, not this Jenna, it was the time jump Jenna. Then Jenna goes to Matt's wedding. Matt is getting married. They have a little bit of a moment. So she goes upstairs and she says like, look, whatever Lucy told you, like it's not true, and she's making it up, and like that's not who I am. But Matt is like, oh, don't, like I stopped trusting Lucy ages ago. Don't worry. This is about life now. So Jenna says she's not the person she once was, and that she wants him to believe that. And that if he really knew that, he would not be getting married to Wendy right now. Matt says he's felt some things these past few weeks that he didn't think he could feel anymore, but he's realized he can't turn back time, and that they both have moved on and gone down different paths. He chose Wendy. Her family is downstairs and they all care for each other. And then he drops one of my favorite lines because I feel like it means a lot. You don't always get the dream house, but you can get close. So he begs her not to cry, and he brings out the doll house that he made for her all those years ago, and he gives it to Jenna, and Jenna's like, please, can I keep it? But Jenna's like, I'm not crying because I'm upset. I'm crying because I'm happy for you and this life that you've created for yourself. So I really like, this isn't the end, by the way, there's more. I really like this approach to the ending because we obviously assume throughout the entire film that he's going to break up with Wendy and be with Jenna. But I think it just shows what a good person Matt is because he loves Wendy and he can't do that to her. And I think it's a really grown up way to approach the situation in terms of like they have got their own lives, they've created their own lives, and in this universe, in this branch of the universe, they aren't supposed to be together. He's chosen Wendy and he loves her and he loves her family, and that's the life that he's built because Jenna wasn't there in his life, and if Jenna was, it would be a different situation. I think it's a real good way to approach it because it also shows Matt's character. He's a good man. He's a good character. And I think if Wendy was just kind of chucked off to the side so he could be with Jenna, I think it's both quite unrealistic and doesn't really portray Matt's character for who he is. He does love Wendy, but Jenna was just the childhood love. And because they went down different pathways and different routes in life, they've created different things for themselves. They're not the same person and they're not the same friends that they once were. And I really, really like this approach because we obviously assume that like Wendy's going to be out of the picture. And she does later on. But in this kind of branch, in this story, Matt and Jenna aren't supposed to be together. And that's fine. That's fine because of the life they've lived and the differences that they've had. I really like it. I think it's such a grown-up way to approach this situation, and I really liked just this way of doing it. I think this was the correct way to do it. We obviously want them together, but it needs to be in the right circumstances. It can't just be like, oh, she's randomly returned and now like they're back together. I think it's realistic and I think it's honest and I think it's grown up. But then Jenna goes outside with the dream house and she sits outside and we hear the like wedding song being played and Matt's going to get married. But then the wishing dust that Matt had put on there all those years ago starts twirling in the air, and suddenly we are brought back to 13-year-old Jenna Rink in the closet. Jenna opens the closet and sees Matt, and she kind of jumps on him and kisses him, and they both fall to the ground. Tom's kind of coming down the stairs, and Jenna ends up throwing her Tom's drink at Tom's face and chest. So then Jenna's like, quick Matt, we're gonna be late. And Matt's like, late for what? And then all of a sudden we are met with their wedding later on when they are both older, and Jenna and Matt end up getting married. I think it's so cute. See, this is the right way. They've got married and they're together under the correct circumstances. I love it. I'm sorry, I love it. Maybe I'm boring and I'm grown and I'm growing up and I'm learning about wrongs and rights of life, but I think this is the correct way of doing it. I'm sorry, but they finally get together, and then we see them move into their own house, and the house looks like the dream house that he made for Jenna. Oh my god, guys, I'm really not okay mentally. Like, guys, when I say this means the world to me, this whole thing means the world to me, guys. They end up going outside on the couch because they're moving furniture in, and they both open up a packet of Razzles, and they're like, here's one for you, Mrs. Flamhath. Thank you, Mr. Flamhath. And that is it. I love 13 Going on 13. Like, guys, when I say like this is my film, I've loved it since I was a little girl. I still watch it to this day. I love the story, and like I said, maybe it's because I'm boring, because I'm growing up, but I think it has really good messages through the film, not even just to do with the romantic relationship, but to do with growing up as a woman and growing up as a girl and growing up with mistakes. And I really like this rom-com is so good in terms of, because it has the other messages, and obviously it focuses on the rom-com part, but it also focuses on other aspects, and that's something I really, really like and I really value. I just love it endlessly. I really, really do. And in my opinion, it just invented rom-coms. I'm sorry. Rom-coms just aren't doing it anymore like this. I'm sorry. So that is it for this video. I'd love to hear your opinion down below. Have you watched this film before? What did you think? Are you going to watch it now that I've explained it or whatever? Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.